one of the things that I think is most significant that influences who I am as a designer is the focus on a really useful product for people's lives.
Hello and welcome to the CDE Podcast. Today we're speaking with Tisha Johnson. She's the head of design at the groundbreaking new EV startup, Slate. Hello Tisha, how are you?
Hello, thank you, I'm fine.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for taking the time. I know that time is of the essence today, but thank you for squeezing us in. I'm really excited to talk about Slate. I'm really excited about Slate in general.
Great.
But just very quickly, to get a sense of your background, where are you from originally? How far back can you trace your interest in automotive design?
Gosh, I can trace my interest in car design goes clearly back to at least 10 years old. I was drawing cars for family members, literally designing vehicles for my parents, as an example, by that time. I was raised in Southern California, and my father was a surfer. So I would draw pictures of vehicles that I thought would accommodate what he might, make sure there was a place for a surfboard, or in another vehicle, something for my mom. So I didn't realize that the roots of car design had taken hold very early on.
That's fantastic. Not just drawing sort of monster trucks and stuff with 1,000 wheels like most kids, but you were like, from day one, you're like, customer-focused design. That's what I'm all about. What does the customer, what does the end user require from my vehicle?
That is true. And they're also very complex. Drawing a vehicle is not actually an easy task. And so I found it fascinating at a very young age to try to competently communicate a car on paper.
Absolutely. Do you have a particular hero car growing up, something that you worshipped from a design point of view, or that really inspired you?
As a kid, I didn't have a car in particular. It was more so that I was just fascinated by the cars around me and the images of cars. By the time that I started school, however, I was especially in love with cars that had more impact or more lasting, more enduring cultural meaning. So as an example, Porsche, and we can all talk about the 911, and you can go back to the 356 and really appreciate a very long line and beautiful, gradual design development and a commitment to a form factor. And then you could also look at the Mazda Miata, the MX-5, and what an impact that really fun small vehicle has had on society.
Timelessness and simplicity are things I'm picking up on that you like in car design.
True, yes.
So you did a long stint at Volvo.
Yes.
I'm a huge Swedish car fan. I just like the way they go about their business. I like the principles of usefulness, solidity. It feels like they've really thought about it, but there's a charisma there as well. How much of that are you bringing across to Slate?
Well, I first want to say I think you'd be a great spokesperson for
thanks
Volvo.
very much. Thank you. If they're listening, I'm available for hire.
I think you capture really well the ethos and the attributes of the vehicle itself. But let me make sure I zoom in on your question again. So you're asking,
what will you take from your experience at Volvo across to Slate?
Yeah, that's great. Well, designers are very influenced by where they've been personally, as well as where they've been in their career and the experiences that they have. So that's really been the bulk of my experience prior to this. I've had some other really interesting design stints, but they've really, in terms of the amount of time and learning, Volvo's been it. So I carry a lot of lessons and a lot of thinking with me. And one of the things that I think is most significant that influences who I am as a designer is the focus on a really useful product for people's lives and an execution that isn't, you might say, frivolous or just full of more than is needed. And that essentialism is something that probably attracted me to Volvo in the first place, but definitely something that I've really continued to refine that sensibility over time.
And as both Volvo and Slate prove, functionality does not have to be to the detriment of great design, right? You can have both. It's not one or the other.
That is exactly the idea. I believe fully in this. And it is the reason why I was so excited about joining Slate, because we had a very clear imperative. We knew that even in the nascent stages, the earliest days, that the product needed to be delivered to a market set that wasn't, really being addressed. So we understood people need a good, reliable new car. It needs to be affordable. And so that mission being so clear, and the fact that we would be making a car that would therefore, in manufacturing terms, would be quite simple, that on the other side, we would really have something that is highly personalizable. So it's radically affordable, highly desirable. And that has been absolutely part of the plan from the earliest of days. And so it was very easy for me to become super excited about it as a designer and to imagine being able to really deliver to that. And that to me is one of the things that is so important here. I think creating a car that is low cost, yeah, it's needed. People need it. And people need to feel great about the car that they own. So it must be desirable. So just a wonderful objective.
So this is a car that every single unit rolls off the production line identical, and then the owner puts their mark on it by wrapping it, by adding accessories, by putting different badges on it, by completely making it their own. In some ways, then, the car is a blank sheet of paper for its customers. Is it really hard or really easy to design a car that is a blank piece of paper for its customers?
Well, I'll first say it's a blank slate.
Nice. Thank you. I should have picked up on that.
And I don't think it is easy. I think the objective is simple and clear. I think that if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. So it's really requires focus. It requires real commitment and constraints that you have to stick with. And so, yeah, I would not call it easy. I would call it extremely rewarding.
100%. And I admit I'm being slightly facetious with that question. I'm certain that it's not easy. And it is a lovely looking vehicle. Some of the extremes that you've gone to in terms of the simplicity, crank windows, so exciting, genuinely exciting to see those on a new car. A friend of mine told me the other day that his niece, he went like that. He did the window winding thing to his young niece. And she was like, what's that?
What's that?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that relate to? No idea. Do you think that there's a different mindset required for owners for customers of this vehicle then? This idea that the brand doesn't just invite you to change it if you want to. They really encourage you to kind of almost finish it off yourself.
Yes. So, I think that it really opens up the imagination of anybody who's looking at the vehicle, who may think about owning the vehicle, who will interact with it. So it certainly is a shift in the mental model. I think it will appeal to many people. I don't think that there's a heavy profile, and I don't think that's what you were asking, but I'm really excited to see how people are responding to it, and I think that's clearly it's just telling us it's hitting the right note.
Most definitely. I'm very lucky that I get to travel the world covering all sorts of exciting new companies. And a couple of years ago, I visited a company in Germany called Sono. Was it called Sono or Scion? Sono Scion. The car was called the Sono Scion, and it was a very similar concept to Slate. It was a family hatchback, but it was made of black plastic, and it came how it came, and it was extremely affordable. That company, unfortunately, sort of ran out of money before they made it to production. But it was one of those moments where I sort of put my head in my hands and I thought, how has no one thought to do this before? What are your thoughts on that? Because my thoughts are it's too radical a departure from the way of doing things for a legacy brand to do. If you offer all of your other models with different paint colors and different wheels and different trim packs, it's too radical to then offer one model that just comes how it comes. Do you think that's what it is as well?
Well, there's a lot of, so if you're a heritage brand, there's a lot of capital investment and dollars tied up in the methods that are being used currently to make the product. And as a startup, we are able to leverage, that clean, now I would say that white sheet, that clean sheet of paper, and really optimize. And if you're really going for optimization, then it becomes obvious quickly that deleting a paint facility in the manufacturing process is going to represent a reduction in complexity. It represents, a more positive environmental practice. And when it comes to our big objective, it represents savings for our customers and then infinite personalization on the other side. So it's really apparent that it's just a sound decision.
Certainly. And incidentally, as a designer who spent a long time at a legacy car brand, is it quite refreshing and exciting to work for an agile startup that's open to doing such radical things?
It's incredibly exciting. It's invigorating. And our design team is really inspired by the goal, inspired by what it means for people. Many of us, all of us, I would say, we think obsessively about the product and making it the best vehicle it can be, making it truly desirable. But that extends, we think about people that we know and love who can't afford good transportation, reliable transportation, people can't afford new cars. So for us, it is, just an incredible experience to be able to design and provide that for people.
Well, I'm pulling for you. I really am. I'm really excited by the project, and I can't wait to get my hands on one in the near future, I hope. A quick question to close, and we've asked all of our guests this during this series. A golden nugget of advice to young designers, be they students or having just graduated looking for their first foothold in the industry. Do you have a sort of go-to nugget of wisdom that you like to share when young designers ask you?
I don't know that I do, but I think the question is great. And, there are certain things that I definitely think about and like to share with students. So, one thing is that during your studies, really experiment, really find as many different interesting spaces to explore, whether it's what interesting new tools that you may use in your process that are just burgeoning tools, rather it's the form itself. I really recommend expanding your visual vocabulary. And in other words, look at the designs that you've created so far and understand if there are things, form factors, and surface studies that you really haven't explored yet. And just explore, because it's all learning. It's really healthy practice, and it'll help you to be more prepared in a professional environment. So those are a couple of things that I think about. And then additionally, I think the third thing is be very open-minded when you graduate. If you want to be a car designer specifically, there are times when it can be more challenging to find a job in your preferred field, in your field of study. But don't give up hope. Know that you've trained to be an industrial designer, and you can work professionally as a designer and continue to develop your skills and stay committed to becoming a car designer if that's really where you want to be.
And all experience is useful experience if you put your heart into it. I'm a big firm believer in that. The path to the end point may be a bit squiggly, but actually some of those detours are often, the things that really add color to who you are as a person and a designer.
I couldn't agree more. I think it really is about embracing the experiences that you have. And then actually this goes back to the beginning of our conversation, really recognizing that this is food for your creative expression.
Tisha, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this CDE podcast. Please like and subscribe to discover new episodes and upcoming events.